Hi there and welcome to the Dawn Show. Dawn Stensland-Menti here. Antiques, of course, are big business these days, and we have the antiques doctor in the house. Dr. Lori is a PhD antiques appraiser and appraiser on, of course, Discovery's popular Auction Kings and a syndicated columnist. And this is the first part of a two-part series with Dr. Lori. So how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Old friends from back in the day.
We are from back in the day.
And people, I mean, people love you and they love to call you and say, Dr. Lori, I've got this thing. I got divorced. So-and-so died. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So you're very popular and very in demand. That's for sure.
Thank God. But yes, I meet fabulous people and I evaluate some great stuff and I evaluate some junk.
Yeah.
Right? Because we all have some of.
Right. And we're going to take some of your calls, but first I want to talk about, just the basics of what is an appraiser and why you need a professional versus just a verbal and all that good stuff.
Okay, so everybody thinks that there are these different types of appraisals, and there are. The first thing you need is the best appraiser you can get. Okay, so we know that's me. People go, oh gosh, I can't believe her. But basically, an appraisal is an opinion of value, okay? It can be historical, it can be monetary, this kind of thing. And the person providing that opinion, that's as good as your appraisal is going to get. Because if your appraiser isn't any good, that opinion isn't any good.
Right.
Oh, okay, I get that now. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your appraiser is a couple of things. I always say compare him to me. I'm serious.
Can't compare.
Oh, I know, I'm terrific. I don't mean to go, I'm terrific.
Do the wave.
Do the wave, yes, Dr. Lori. I'm just saying that what I want you to think about is I want you to think about, look, I want you to have a certain educational background. I want you to be able to have handled many objects and appraised many objects for a long time, a devotion to the field. I want somebody who's not a hobbyist, didn't just become an appraiser because it was a hobby. I want somebody who actually studied the discipline, right, as you would study whatever your field is. Yeah, okay, I did, yes.
At Penn.
But many didn't, So you want to think about that.
State.
The other thing I want you to think about is this idea that appraisers, should only be specialists in one thing. Many of the people who are only specializing in one type of thing is because they buy and sell those things. The appraiser who wants to buy your object is probably not going to tell you the true appraised value of your object, because if they want to buy it, they want to buy it cheaply.
And they're gonna profit, not you.
They're gonna profit, not you. So again, I made a pact when I started appraising that I would not buy and sell any of it, none of it ever. And I've stood very clear to that because I've held firm to that, because people go, I trust her, she's going to tell me the truth.
Because you're not benefiting from, you're not going to profit from whatever you're,
Don't have a dog in that race. So the appraisers who are auctioneers, the appraisers who are also dealers, are not really appraisers. That doesn't mean they can't say, oh, it's worth this. They're telling you what they're willing to pay you for it. They're not telling you what everybody has actually sold pieces like yours for. Gotcha. So that's why you need the unbiased appraiser.
And what about written versus verbal?
Okay, written versus verbal. Verbal is, you look at it and you say, okay, a verbal appraisal is this. Many people, the way verbal and written started was because a lot of these folks who were going to resell it didn't want to put on paper that they told you it was worth $50 and then they resold it for $5,000. And really, I started appraising because I met a 75-year-old woman who sold a $50,000 document to one of those types of appraisers for $50.
And that's not illegal. She got scammed. She got scammed basically, but it's not against the law, right?
Right.
So
it's awful, but it's not against the law technically, because it's a purchase offer. Oh, they made you a purchase offer. It's this mumbo jumbo discussion of language and words. Here's the thing. Someone's going to shoot straight with you. That's who you want. The person who's going to say, this is only worth this much because other pieces like it have sold for this much in other places. Okay? But if somebody's going to come in and say, oh, I want to buy this nice set from you, they're going to try to buy it as cheaply as possible.
Right.
Okay, so that's the difference. And now, a written appraisal and a verbal appraisal, one's in writing, and insurance appraisals need to meet a certain standard. And the insurance companies don't allow just anybody to do your insurance appraisal either. So if you have something that you love, something that is valuable, and you want to cherish it and you want to insure it and cover and get insurance coverage for it, you need to meet certain standards. And the insurance companies say, not any Joe appraiser can do this. They need to have certain credentials.
Right.
So the insurance companies, when I do an insurance appraisal, will hold me to a standard too. And one of those standards is, all the education in the background, but one of the standards is you got to show the sales records. Where are you coming up with this value? Where's your supporting evidence? You remember when you wrote the paper in high school and they made you support, you had to show your supporting evidence as you made your topic sentence and all of that? It's the same thing. You have to support where you're coming up with this number. So people aren't just throwing numbers around. I see so many appraisers, even those on television and everywhere else, they're throwing numbers around. This is worth this is worth that. If I had this in my gallery, I'd price it at that. Those aren't appraisals. And an appraisal, again, is an opinion, and an opinion based on how good your opinion is. You need a written appraisal if you want to insure items. You need a written appraisal if you are thinking, I want to settle an estate for probate. You need an appraisal if I always call them the 3 Ds. If you're downsizing, if you're getting divorced, or if you've had a death in the family. Those are the ones. I always say appraisals are needed in times of change, right? And when you had your boys, you want to think of them. You got 2 new kids, and you're thinking, I got to think about them, so I have to know my assets. I have to think about these objects as investments, because now what's happening is they are. So you're moving to a new house, happy things, not only death and divorce and not happy things, but happy things, new kids. I'm moving to a new city and a new job. Any of those types. I'm getting married. I want to think about those types of things. So remember, your objects are more today assets than they've ever been. Many people will only think about their real estate as an asset.
Yes, and not what's in your home.
Not what's in your home. Not what you've been collecting for 20 years of your marriage, and then you and your husband decide to split, and then you go, wow, I didn't realize that my wife's teapot collection was worth anything. And when he decides, he's going another way, he goes, good, the oolong tea can go to her with all her teapots. Then he finds out the teapots are $50,000 a pot, and
but you're already divorced, so too bad.
So too bad, yeah.
I got my pot.
Or the golf clubs, you want to see the male side of it too.
Right.
Or the fishing lures are always the surprise. You were in love with the old man in the sea, but now you're divorcing him and you're thinking, I want to know if the fishing lures are worth some money. So
get rid of the old man in the sea, but keep his fishing lures.
Yeah, this kind of thing. So it's only time, you need an appraisal when there are times of change.
Okay.
So you want to think about that. And you want to think about this. I have 2 parents who suffer from Alzheimer's disease. The objects in my mother's home became important because they represented funding for her health care.
Oh.
So the cookie jars, the stuff from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the object, the furniture, all of a sudden, and I hate to be crass, it became dollar signs.
Right.
You went, I got to think about this, and we're getting into that. Many of us are dealing with that. We deal with it.
So if you're a caretaker, that's so important to know as well.
These are important things. And an appraiser who comes in and just says, I'll give you a 1 lump sum for the whole house full of stuff, you might be losing months and months and months of care.
And tens of thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands of dollars.
So when we come right back, we're going to take some of your calls. We're going to have some fun. We're going to get into the fun stuff, some of the appraisals, show you what's junk, what's treasure with Dr. Lori when the Dawn Show continues.